If you've ever driven to Cape Town, you've probably driven through the Huguenot Tunnel. I've always been fascinated about tunnels. It's really cool, this massive tube in the middle of the ground. So we're going to look at how the Huguenot Tunnel came to be. The Huguenot Tunnel provides a 2-lane route through the Du Toitskloof Mountains, which separates Paarl and Worcester. So it is South Africa's longest road tunnel and probably actually one of Africa's longest road tunnels, because I can't find anything else that's as long as this. The tunnel is exactly 3.9 kilometers long and was opened 35 years ago in March of 1988. It is 11 kilometers shorter than the Du Toitskloof Pass, which is the alternative route, and can save you almost 30 minutes of driving. There are more than 12,000 vehicles that travel through the tunnel every day. And in peak holiday season like Easter, there's up to 23,000 cars or trucks that travel through that tunnel in a day, which is a lot of vehicles. In 1978, Governor van Plettenberg suggested that a wagon road be constructed through the mountains. 4 decades passed before anything came of this suggestion. A German farmer named Detlev Siegfried Schonfeld approached the local farming community and suggested that a road be built through Du Toitskloof to benefit everyone, the farmers all around them. So the money for this construction was raised by Schonfeld, and he focused on constructing his section of the road over the clay gat, which many regard as the toughest section to build through. So in 2 short years, he had built a wagon road over that very tough section. However, constructing this particular section, because it was so tough, was expensive and depleted the overall road construction fund. So Schonfeld approached the government for further financial assistance to complete the road. Part of the money would go to hiring at least 60 laborers to provide enough manpower to complete the project within 4 months. The authorities came in, investigated Schonfeld's proposal, but they believed that what had already been built before would be sufficient to serve as a decent road. So as a result, his request for funding was turned down. But the matter was raised again in 1858 by a civil engineer named George Pilkington. Due to a lack of funding, however, this project was again not revived. So it took all the way up until 1935 when the National Road Board decided that the plans for a proper pass would need to be revived. 5 years later, a government engineer, P.A. de Villiers, conducted a survey of the area, and it was decided to go ahead with the plan to build a road through Du Toitskloof. Not too long afterwards, World War II broke out and South Africa was asked to host a number of Italian prisoners of war, and approximately 10,000 prisoners from Italy were detained in Worcester. This was actually advantageous, as Italians are often considered among the best road and pass builders in the world. So government offered the prisoners, for exchange of food and accommodation, asked them, could you please build the Du Toitskloof Pass? So by 1945, the pass had nearly been completed by the prisoners, but as the war was coming to an end, these Italians had to be repatriated. So the completion of the pass was undertaken by local laborers. To celebrate the completion of the pass, a massive aluminium cross was placed on Huguenot Top. And it can still be seen today. So if you want to go check it out, go down to Cape Town. So a rush of traffic was noticed on the pass in the 1970s, and so in 1973, plans to build the Huguenot Tunnel were conceived. Construction of this massive project began in 1984. There were 2 phases to the tunneling. The first, a pilot tunnel, was put in to examine the routes and the geographical obstacles that were there. The second phase bored a 5-meter tunnel through granite rock, as well as construction of portals, drainage, and ventilation tunnels. The 2 drilling heads met with an error of only 3 millimeters over its entire 3.9 kilometer length. So they started drilling from this side, and they met with only a 3.9 millimeter gap, which is incredible. The tunnel was finally opened on the 18th of March 1988 and cost a total of 202.6 million rand. After subsequent improvements to the roads and infrastructure and bridges on the eastern sides of the toll road, the figure increased to an incredible amount of 500 million rand, which is a lot of money, just saying. So leading up to the Huguenot Tunnel, from its south side, there's an incredibly amazing viaduct bridge. I'll show pictures here, which is the first of its kind to be built in South Africa. The bridge is both curved and cambered, and it sits high above the Meerspoort Valley. Today, traffic flow within the tunnel is monitored by 34 cameras from a control center, which is located nearby to the tunnel. The operators are able to trigger alarms in case of any emergency, such as a car that stopped, or a fire, or an accident. The tunnel is also fully lit 24 hours per day with a backup generator, thanks ESCOM. And there's also a powerful air conditioning system that works constantly to get rid of all emission fumes from trucks, cars, and make sure there's a good level of air quality in the tunnel. Recent upgrades to the tunnel include improved fire safety systems, as well as really cool LED lighting. I found this to be really fascinating. They use light sensors at the beginning and ends of the tunnel, or both beginnings of the tunnel, I guess you could say, to make sure the lighting adjusts to the outside conditions. So that when you're driving through the tunnel, your eyes are not blinded. They make sure your eyes adjust properly. And from the beginning, it's brighter, goes through dark, 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 gets brighter towards the end so that your eyes adjust. I find that to be really fascinating, really cool engineering, wonderful LED lights. The most exciting part, and honestly, I didn't know this until I started doing some research, is that there are actually two tunnels next to each other. You think there's just one because traffic flows both ways, but there's two. The other one was built at the same time, and it's built for expansion and as well as emergency exit. If there's a problem in the main tunnel, you could go through and go to the second tunnel. So there's actually two tunnels. Because the traffic is increasing annually, there are actually plans to open the Northern Bore Tunnel to carry traffic in the other direction, which is really cool. So this will allow for 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. The plans are underway now and should take about 3 years to execute. So I'm hoping that by 2025, we will be able to drive in the second tunnel and experience that as well. I'm really excited for that, and I do hope it actually happens because that will be really cool. So that's the Huguenot Tunnel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. If you have anything you'd like me to explore, pop it down in the comments below and I will get to it. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Peace out.